My name is Steven, but Taryn never called me by my name. It was always roommate with an exclamation point. If Taryn was punctuation, she would be an exclamation point. Everything about her was loud and exciting and energetic. And I was the opposite. I was shy and boring and scared. And I moved into this wonderful woman named Katie Trott when I was in college. And Katie was friends with Taryn. And so Taryn became friends with me. And I didn't have a whole lot of friends, and Katie used to joke I hated my room the first 3 months living there, and Taryn came over a lot, and even though she didn't live there, she kind of did live there, and so I became roommate to her. And we did so much together, and it was game nights. She's always the life of the party, and we didn't drink, so instead of bar hopping, we'd go church hopping, and her and I were kind of the only people in the group that talked about our faith in Jesus. And so every Sunday we would go to a new church. And this is before GPS. And so she would drive. And I don't know where we were lost a lot of the times. And I would get nervous. And she's like, don't worry, we'll figure it out. And one time we were supposed to go to this church in Long Beach she heard about. And I'm like, Taryn, we're not in Long Beach. We're in the wrong city. And there was this sign like on the street about a church. This is the one we're going to go to. And it was like a restaurant that a church was renting out or something. I don't know. And there was like 10 chairs. And we sit down. This pastor starts talking and says, very sorry our worship leader couldn't make it today. And Taryn gets up, gets on the stage. She goes, I can sing. And she starts singing songs, and she's like, roommate. I'm like, no, Taryn, that's not me. Just sing away, girl. And we'd go to breakfast afterwards, and she's like, see, you said we were lost. We weren't lost. God knew they needed a singer, and that's why we went to L.A. instead of Long Beach. But so it was. We used to like to go to movies. She loved Twilight, and we went a couple times. And one time we get out. And she hops on my back, and what are you doing? And she goes, do the tree thing, because I like the tree scene. And she would call me Edward, and I'd pretend I would drum up this tree, and we were flying. And it was always fun with her. And if you knew Taryn, she had this laugh, right? There was the normal laugh, but then there was the laugh. And it would build. It was a crescendo. It was a song. It was a... It would get higher and higher, and Katie always, make her do it. And she liked my Kramer impersonation from Seinfeld, so I would do this Kramer impersonation, and she would start, once she got there, she couldn't stop, and we'd all start laughing and crying, and it was always fun with her, and it was Katie and Jess and Corbin, and all these kids were around me all the time, and it was so full of joy for me. And then they all got married and moved away, and I was just kind of left like Peter Pan with no one to play with. And I was really sad. And my new roommate, Cameron, I realized how loud the house used to always be with all these kids over. Now it was quiet. And I think Taryn must have called Cameron and said, how is Steve doing? He's pretty sad. And I hadn't unboxed anything for 3 weeks. And one day I came home from work, and all the boxes are gone. And my bed is made, and I have pictures on the walls. And what? And then the sliding door to my closet opens up, and there's Katie and Taryn who had hid in my closet, and they unpacked everything for me. And this made my room for me, and we hung out the whole night like we used to. That's the kind of heart she had. How's Steve? He's lonely, he misses us. Let's just go make his house feel like it used to be. And the group kind of faded away, but Taryn and I would stay in touch, and she would call and she would text. And one time I told her, hey, I'm thinking about coming to Beachpoint. And I go, I'm a little nervous still. One of my former students invited me here, and even in my 30s, without Katie and Taryn were like my floaties of socialness. I was so socially scared all the time, and they were both gone. And I go, I don't know if I can keep coming to church. And I always sit in the back, and they said, no, you got to do it. Beachpoint's the best thing that ever happened in my life. Being in Riverside, that's one of the things I missed the most. You should trust me, you've got to stay at Beachpoint. And so I kept coming. And then one day, I'm in the back there, and it's 11:15, and the service ends, and Bill's walking down the stage, and this woman I hear yell, roommate! I'm like, Taryn! And she runs over to me, and we hug and almost knock Bill down, and it was great time. I go, what are you doing here? She's like, I come to 11:15 sometimes still. And we started talking again, and it was just, every time we saw each other, we hugged, we laughed. We just caught up like as old times. And then it was right out here in Easter a few years ago where we were eating dinner together. And we hugged and we laughed. And then we did something that we don't normally do, and we cried because she told me she had cancer. And I couldn't believe it that this young woman who was so vibrant could have this thing. But the way Taryn talked about anything, it was beatable. The way she explained it. I'm gonna get through it. It's gonna be okay. And we would just talk and text. And what astonished me is every time she would text me, like, "How you doing?" And like, "Oh, my lungs collapsed today, but God is good." I'm like, "What?" Yeah, my heart almost went out, but God is good. And I've never seen anyone talk about God is good next to such horrible conditions. And she always, "But don't worry, I'm going to find a way. What do you need? I'm good. Sometimes just send me a joke, maybe laugh or something." And a few weeks before she died, Taryn called me and goes, "Hey, it's at nighttime. Are you at the school? I'm at FHS." I'm like, "No, and my mom is terminally ill. I was caring for my mother." And I go, "What are you doing there?" She goes, It's with Cadence. It's the incoming 8th grader night." And I thought, I'm looking at my mom who's dying, and I thought, here's this terminally ill mother herself, still being a mother, still making sure her daughter is going to be okay for the next year. Part of me wishes I would have just drove back there. I didn't know, and very soon it would be over. And the last text I got from Taryn, she explained she was in the hospital. And even then, I'm going to get out of here soon. I'm going to find an experience. I'm going to beat this. I said, "What do you need?" She says, "I need prayers." And I said, "Sending you love, and I'm praying for you." And she put a heart emoji. And I texted her a day or two later, didn't hear anything. And I called her on Friday, and then she didn't answer the phone, left her voicemail. And I'm at Life Group on Saturday morning because I'm part of Beachpoint because of her. And when it ended, Bill talked about how hard it was yesterday. This one young mother who died of cancer. And I said, "That wasn't Taryn, was it?" And he said, "Yes." And I for some reason, I never thought she could die because the way she talked about how good God is. And I came home that day, and I was in the middle of a move, and I saw all these boxes. And I just wanted that closet to open up again. I wanted her and Katie to pop out and just say, "Surprise," and I missed her way more than I realized. And, the last thing she ever sent to me was a heart emoji. And that's the thing she sent to me every time I saw her, was her heart. She gave it away all the time and always was trying to make me feel better about who I was. My mom used to always put, in the summertime, sugar on top of strawberries. That was Taryn. Every person she touched, she added sugar to. She made you feel better about who you were. And, one of my favorite stories as a kid was Corduroy the bear. And Corduroy was this bear that no one purchased. He just sat on the shelf alone that no one seemed to want because he's missing a button. And then one day, this little girl buys Corduroy at the shelf. And she takes him home, and she says to him, you don't need this button, but I'm going to give you this button. And at the very end of the book, he says, "I've always wanted a home, I've always wanted a hug, and I've always wanted a friend." Taryn gave me my button. Taryn made me feel like I was loved just the way I was. It's the most Christ-like thing we can do, to say to someone, "I love you just the way you are, but I'm still going to make you better than you are with how I'm going to love you." My favorite memory of Taryn and I was one night. She would call me sometimes at night. Katie was with the kids, and "Let's just drive somewhere." "Where are we going?" And she had this phrase, "We'll see where the road takes us." I don't know what that meant at first, but and we just drove, and we ended up in front of the Queen Mary. And we parked in this little park, and we're hanging out, and we're talking in this full moon. She got me to dance. And if you know me, I don't dance. And she got me to dance in the moonlight with the Queen Mary behind us. And we sat there till like 2 a.m. talking about our future. And the memory came to me because we said to each other, one day we're gonna speak at each other's funerals. You know that. And like when we're 80. I never thought it would be now. But one thing I do know that Taryn believed in, like she did for me, that Jesus has prepared her room for her. The boxes have been emptied. The bed has been made. Things are put on the wall. And even though, like me, I was leaving a place that was full of love and friends, and it felt so alone, that Jesus has her now. And Taryn, I know one day I'll be your roommate again. Thank you for being my friend. I love you very much.